Hello guys, how's it going? You're very welcome back to Autism and Me. If you're new to the channel, you are very welcome. For a start, I'd like to thank everyone for their continued support so far, from liking the videos, commenting the videos, sharing the videos. It really does mean the world. So guys, thank you so much for the continued support. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about change. Now, change is a big thing that's always happening in our lives, always happening in the world. Something's always changing in our lives. And it could be from simple things, from changing location, changing how you do things, like going to a shop, what time, etc. And that can be a big thing for people on the spectrum now. A lot of people on the spectrum are not big on change. Change can cause a lot of serious anxiety and upset, because routine is a huge thing for people on the spectrum. They like things done a certain way. They want to stick to a routine, and getting them into a routine is very important. I know from my own perspective that even having the simplest routine of going to the gym or pool every day, that's something simple, but it gives me a routine and it gives me something to keep going, keep on straight and narrow. I even know, for example, from not even going to the gym last week, it was tough. So it's very important to keep that routine going, and change can be difficult. Now, from my own perspective, I don't find change that bad, but there are certain things that I would never want to change. That sort of thing. Like, there are certain things that I want to keep. I don't want that change. I don't want that thing to change. Like, for example, like, I don't mind changing what time I go to the shop, for example, to get groceries. Like, I can deal with that. No, but I can deal with that. That's fine. But someone else in the spectrum, that might be a huge thing for them. They might be like, no, I go at this time every day and that's it. And that's the thing. That's the challenge for people on the spectrum who struggle with change. So that's why routine is a big help, and it really benefits them because they have that structure. They really do have that structure. And I think when change can be a big thing. Now, example of things like that people on the spectrum mightn't want to change is, for example, what to eat. For example, they might want to eat a certain thing all the time. They might just want to have that food every day. They might want to wear the same clothes all the time. They might want to play the same song all the time. They might want to do a certain activity every time. They might want to change it up because they're so set in that routine, or just so set in that zone, that they can understand why that change has happened. And reality for someone on the spectrum can be very confusing. And I know a lot of people who have autism struggle to understand the world and what's going on around them. And I know, for example, another simple thing is that holidays can be a big thing, because some people on the spectrum are very confined to their home, because also it takes away the routine though as well. Because going on holiday, it does kind of take away your routine. That's the thing. Like, it really does take away that routine, because you're used to, maybe, as I said, for example, like, could be like me going to the gym or going to the pool every day, or doing shopping at a certain time, or going for that coffee. Now, like, all that's changed. You might be used to getting up at a certain time, but now on holiday, all that's changed, because you're going to a different country. You're going to a different country, or you're going just a few hours down the road in your own country. And but your routine is going to be completely different. Like, things, for example, if you're going on holiday, say in, Galway, like, your routine is going to be different. That sort of thing, because you're going to be in a new bed, new place, etc. So it's very it's going to be quite challenging. But like, I for example wouldn't be too bad on that. I actually quite enjoy going on holidays. Like, I'm literally even planning staycations, and I'm planning to go traveling. Like, I'm one of those people on the spectrum that, like, I don't like certain things changing, but I wouldn't be against holidays. For example, I would happily go on a holiday. Like, I'd happily go abroad. I'd happily go down the country for a week. In fact, there are times I'm down the country, I'm like, do I have to go back? Like, I don't mind that change in routine, but I know some people on the spectrum don't like that change in routine. So I would say a few tips that I would recommend is that I would say try and encourage the change. Like, find pros, for example, in the change. So if you're going abroad, say, you could say to someone that if they really like beaches, for example, and you say you don't have a beach at home, where you're living, you could say, we can go on the beach. We can go to the beach anytime we want now. The weather's going to be so much nicer. They're simple things, but they can really help. Like, that's the thing. They can really, really help. Just those simple things that can help someone on the spectrum. And I can encourage the change. To encourage the change, and also, but let them know it's okay to feel anxious, anxious and upset, because change can be upsetting. And I remember, for example, when I was younger, I was very upset when we were moving to this house. I was actually very upset. And that's okay. It's okay to feel upset about this, because change can be upsetting for some people. Some people welcome, some people don't. It's very important to talk about that change. Let's talk about it. Like, alright, say, so how do you feel about that change that's coming up? Like, how do you feel about moving? How do you feel about doing this now? I also have to put positives on it. For example, as I said, like if you're going abroad and someone likes beaches, say to them, hey, we can go on the beach now. That sort of thing. Or like if they like ice cream, we can get more ice cream because it's going to be warmer. That's the thing. You don't like, it's, for example, we're not going to encounter rain on our holiday. Like if you're abroad especially. So I think try and get also things you can't do at home that you can now do abroad in the place you're going to, or even down the country. Simple things like that can be quite helpful and quite good at managing people on the spectrum who are struggling with change. So yeah, I'm going to just give a few examples now of things that would be difficult. For example, like I'm going to talk about, I know death, for example, it's very hard to talk about that one because that's a huge change in like someone's life. Like that's the thing, it's a huge thing. It's very hard to get around that. For example, but I think, as I said, it goes back to, as I said, talk about the change. That's the thing, like talk about the change. I remember when my dog died last year, it was a huge change for us in the family. I didn't know what the grieving process was behind a pet dying. I didn't know, how to feel about it. I was upset. I think it's okay to feel upset, but it was a big we've had a pet for 14 years. You kind of get into a routine, get into a habit. So it was a big change. Not having a pet, and that was quite challenging. And it's very hard to prepare for something like that. But another example was changing, going to college, for example. I remember that was a huge change, for me, because with college, I went to college in Sligo. I had to move to a new county. I had to move to a different end of the country. I had to move to the west of Ireland, and things where I am and things where I was going were different. So it was a big challenge for me, because I was so used to being here as well. I'd lived here, I lived in the same place for 20 years. I was 20 when I went, and I had to get used to it. I don't mean like that. I mean, it was hard to get used to it. But I think one thing that helped me was the fact that I had gone to Sligo a lot. My auntie lived there for years. My great aunt lived there for years. I would have gone there a lot as a child, so that really did help. But it was still a challenge in terms of all the other things, getting used to a new place, class, people, etc. That sort of thing. It is a big challenge, learning new subjects, learning different things, learning to fend for yourself a bit more, because when you're home you can kind of have people help you out. But now, for example, if you're sick, you have to go down to the town and get your tablets yourself, maybe, whereas when you're home your parents might get that for you. You encourage the changes of what, for example, you can't do, for example, at home we can now do there. In Sligo, for example, I had 2 beaches only a bus ride away. So, for example, I got to do that. So, for example, that was a good something small, but it kept me it kept going. That's a good thing. And maybe, for example, my interesting feeder that like for example my feeder, maybe you got to see more plays, for example, you might have seen back here, because the feeder is probably a bit advertised a bit better down there. That's the thing. And maybe you might discover more other things, like maybe better fast food places, for example, things that are only in that area but aren't at home. Like that's the thing, and give you a bit more freedom too. Like there's positives, like you can find all these little things that can kind of encourage the change. So that's one thing I would say with someone, from someone on the spectrum. Just talk about the change. Tell them it's okay to feel anxious or upset, but try and find positives on it. Like try to understand, try and help them see the positives all the time. Like try and get them to see, well, this is like explain. Okay, this is what you can do now, for example. So yeah, so that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.